2003, Pasco County had 2 fire stations on the east side of 75.
Wow.
Look what we've grown to in just the 22 years, right? Since then. I mean, when you think about our progress, man, we've been on a marathon sprint. It's been so fantastic. But
you're listening to the Firewire Podcast, powered by Pasco County Professional Firefighters.
Welcome to the Firewire Podcast, the official voice of the Pasco County Professional Firefighters, Local 4420. I'm Pete Arnold, your host, and I'm joined by my co-host, President Dixon Phillips. We're proud to launch this new podcast, a place for real conversation, leadership updates, and stories from the front lines.
Whether you're a firefighter, a family member, or a member of our community here in Pasco County, we're glad that you're here with us. Each episode will be sitting down with leaders, firefighters, and members of the community, also experts of the fire service, talk about what matters most to our members and our mission.
We want to thank all of our sponsors today, Mahaney Motors, E1, the Mahaney family, and their team that have always supported first responders in Pasco County Fire Rescue, and we're honored to have them with us on this new journey. Talking about sponsors, these walls are awful bland. If anybody'd like to send us anything that we can put up to kind of liven up the room, we'd appreciate it. Stickers, challenge coins, everything. We'll make sure that you're represented.
Episode 1 is with Fire Chief Ryan Guynn, Assistant County Administrator J.J. Murphy.
I think it's going to be a great time. Let's jump into it. We're joined today by 2 important voices in the evolution of our fire department. Assistant County Administrator J.J. Murphy and Fire Chief Ryan Guynn. Gentlemen, welcome to the first episode.
Nice to be here.
thank you. Yeah.
Let's start with something that's close to the heart of every firefighter, our health. Chief JJ, can you talk about what Pasco is doing to lead the way in decontamination, mental health, and occupational health?
Absolutely. So, the interesting thing about all this is it's usually been from a ground level up driven process, right? I mean, our members are always had some of the best ideas, and that's where we get a lot of them from, and it's our job to carry them forward, much as the case with our decon program, from supplying, clean, contaminant-free gear to every single employee after every single structure fire. It was just phenomenal. And to have 2 units on both sides, completely, continuously staffed, that can operate, 24/7 is a testament to what we're trying to do. And when you look at the total package, not just decon, you look at mental health, physical health, and the well-being of the individual employee altogether. I think Pasco is really leading the way, and we're excited to be part of it.
We are too. I mean, I think when you look at the cancer rates throughout the country, especially in firefighters and the risks that we have every day, I think one of the biggest things that we've done in this county, investing in your people, is making sure that they're safe and that they go home safe and they're not bringing carcinogens home to their family and that they stay cancer free. And it's a huge initiative that we started, and a lot of people kind of batted an eye at it originally, but when you look at the way it is now, I mean, I think it's something that no one else in the country has.
Oh, with that, we're following the guidelines: shower within the hour, getting the new gear, using the green buckets. The other thing too is you look at what I think it's a cost savings too, because you look at what other departments are doing. You're going to clean cab technology, and those apparatus are somewhere between $150,000 $250,000 more expensive. So if you're a department our size, where you're buying 7 engines in a year and you're saving that amount of money, that pays for the program almost in itself, and you're showing the buy-in to your employees by the fact that they're getting new bunker gear every 5 years. They're rotating through gear. We're using the gear to the life expectancy without destroying it. Everything that we're doing is showing not only, hey, we're providing to our members, but it's also our citizens. We know that they're coming with the best and the greatest technology that we have, and it's going to be long lasting.
Yeah, I think you guys have been at the forefront, certainly on the decon. As an administrator, I come into an organization and I was very impressed with, Station 9 and, the hot, warm, and cold zones. And you guys have led from the front on that. And then as an administrator, then I find out, well, what are the barriers to really take it to the next level? And then I find out, well, they had planned for a station to be where all the washing was going to be done, and they had the equipment, but they didn't have the water lines. And so to be able to come in and just effectuate a little bit of like, no, we're going to move this across the goal line and we're going to get it done because you've already made that investment. You're on the field. Like, how do you score? And then we take this to mental health and how do we look across the country and see who's doing it right or how we can lean forward. And whether it's making sure we're supporting our members going to the center to get extra assistance that they may need, or we started the mental health for first responders, and the chief has been, out front on that, and partnering with Tampa Bay Psychology. So we're the first agency in the region to really make sure that our members, they're not following a typical EAP program where you get 5 visits and it doesn't matter if it's alcohol, drugs, marital issue, you get 5 visits and we're going to start charging you. No. We want to make sure we're investing in their physical health and their mental health. And we put that forward. I don't care if it takes 25 visits. You keep going. We're going to make sure you're good, because if you're good, your mental well-being strong, then you're going to be there for your partner, whatever they need.
I think that's a great segue into talking about, going from decon to mental health. What are some of the challenges that you as administrators are faced with the mental health program? Because in the field, we know, hey, we push a button, we make a phone call, the truck's running and we're going with it. What do you guys deal with from the administrative level?
Well, I mean, initially when you look at any program, you look at the challenges, you talk about money, right? I mean, where are we going to get funding for this? How are we going to make this happen? And that's where having an administration, like Mr. Murphy and everybody on the backside supporting fire rescue's mental health and physical health has been a benefit, and we have to kind of give credit to, county administration for stepping behind that and taking some initiative with us. And not only is it the money, it's just, getting the buy-in initially, but we're gaining ground on that. We've got almost, just in fire rescue, we've got almost 500 clinical hours this year alone, which is phenomenal, right? And then we've got an average of 65 to 70 visits every month, and that's growing every month. Every month we get more and more and more. So we get those monthly reports, and we kind of keep pushing that out, and we kind of keep promoting the program, and we're getting better and better. Speaking of county administration support, Mr. Murphy's been able to spread our program to all of public safety in Pasco County. We include corrections, sheriff's office, 911, and they all fall underneath us. We're kind of floating a bill for all of it, but it's not a money thing when it comes to that. It's let's provide this service because the service is well worth it, and we're seeing the benefits of it. And we've had 18, I think, crisis center calls since the beginning of this year, and that's a lot. And ultimately we want to see that number go down and the monthly visits go up. We kind of get that balance. Let's continuously go and stay healthy, and let's drive the crisis centers, the crisis calls down. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's an unbelievable benefit and unbelievable investment from this county into our members and your employees as well. It goes into that, let's get rid of the stigma. And I know that was a lot of issues early on with the buy-in, but I will say that the relationship that we have and the agreement that we have with Tampa Bay Psychology Association is second to none. The fact that our members can have an unlimited amount of visits at no cost to them, family members included, and the fact that we're taking care of our people and making sure that they don't get to that moment where they feel like it's their only option. And that is another part of this puzzle and taking care of that whole firefighter. That other departments just seem like they're kind of behind in their ways. And it's just amazing to be part of this organization and have two leaders over this organization that are taking care of their people, and that's the priority.
I think I talked to the new hires last week. We were doing training, and the new concept of the word okay. We've developed that it's okay in Pasco County to say, I want to wash my gear. It's okay to say, hey, I want mental health. It's okay to question and say, hey, I want to speak to my superiors about a certain situation. Like, we've got to make sure that word, especially to our employees, that okay is okay. It's You're not going to get, it's not a fault. It's not, no one's going to give you harassment. We need to grasp it and just say a simple word is okay is allowed.
Right. And I think it makes it easier too, is when we have such a brotherhood here in our agency where everybody is always looking out for others. I mean, I know we've had a couple members that have had to go to the Center of Excellence, and they were saved because of other members on their shift that saw something wrong with them as they were coming off. And to be able to make that call and the swift action that came from administration to get them to where they needed to be was unbelievable, and without a doubt saved multiple lives in this agency.
Right. I mean, if I'm the assistant county administrator walking around with a service dog, proudly, right? You have to be able to struggle well, and you have to be able to let others know that we're going to have your back. And there are some individuals who, have really taken advantage of the programs we've offered. And then you look at the area agencies who have had, sad situations where people gave up. We're expanding our services to those area counties that have had some struggles, and they took advantage of that. So when we're building a program that other people are copying, and if they're not copying, they're utilizing our hours, that's great. That means we're looking out, we're expanding your brotherhood, right? Outside of your union, we offered those services to the area counties as well.
I think we're talking about the IAFF and this being Local 4420. I think that, Chief, your leadership recently, when you were talking about, hey, we want to be embedded in the IAFF and to the program, and what can we do to help other agencies? We're putting together a program right now where we can deploy these assets that we've built to go help other places. It's not just us. We're trying to share this with everybody else. And that's a hard thing to do nowadays in this environment where you have people to buy in, like, well, how are we going to pay them? How are we going to do it? We'll worry about that later. We'll worry about, let's take care of people now.
Yeah, and I agree, and that comes with a selfless attitude, right? I mean, you guys aren't looking out for. You're looking out for your members, obviously, but you're looking out for the fire service and as a general and a whole. And when you approach and say we need to go help this department, or we need to go help these individuals, or we need to go here, we need to go there. It's all hands on deck, and we're here for all that. So,
I think we have to give kudos to you guys, though, that you supported us when this department never fought for the opioid money, right? And that money came out, and there was a lot of external agencies looking for it. And we stood up and said, no, who deals with the opioid crisis every day? If there's opioid dollars that could be spent, and that's how we're using the Mental Health for First Responders initiative. So if I didn't have the support from the union on the political side, then it might have been a tougher challenge. So I like the fact that we can look at this and say, look, we'll find the money later, but it's my job to work with the chief to say, okay, let's put a package together that makes us competitive, and year after year we're going to continue to fight to get money, whether it's opioid money, state money. You guys have been there with us to Tallahassee, been there in DC. We're going to fight for every dollar, and I think in the last 2.5 years, we've gotten over $13 million that we weren't competing for in the past.
Right. And you talk about the politics side, and I think it's important to also say is that while we have our support inside county administration, which is honestly second to none, the support that we have from our county commissioners, from our state representatives, from our congressional leaders is also second to none. They are all invested in our health and safety. They're invested in this county and in our department. And it's just fantastic to see both sides working together. And when they hear positive stuff from both of us, it's hard for them to say no when we're all speaking the same language. I know you talked about your dog Raider.
Right under here.
So just want to see, we have a lot of members that maybe don't know much about you, Mr. Murphy, and Chief Guynn. We have a very young department, so maybe they don't know a lot about you either. And obviously, everyone that's going to be watching and listening, can we get some background information on why you are so committed to taking care of your frontline workers?
Oh boy, I didn't think I'd go there. That wasn't the prescript. So look, I grew up in a public service family. My dad was a Philadelphia police officer. I remember as a young kid, we had a police officer who lived down the street committed suicide. I couldn't have been more than 11, 12 years old. And he was a young cop. My dad was a young cop. So I mean, I had uncles in the military. I went in the military. Spent 20 years as an officer in the Air Force. 17 of those was in search and rescue, coordinating search and rescue around the country, 2 volunteer for 2 deployments overseas. But I think the toughest thing was sending somebody on a mission who, it was his first mission, Staff Sergeant Doug Ecclestein. And yesterday was Memorial Day, so I want to talk about it. And sent him on a mission. He saved somebody, but there was an accident post-mission, and he lost his life. So I had to call his commander to say, hey, your guys did great. They saved the person, but then there was an accident and had to call him back. So sending somebody, and it was a reservist, on a mission that he never made it back to his family. And then deploying overseas. I was in Haiti after I was on the initial response team. So there was, you think about 9/11, we lost almost 3,500 people, right? Heroes, most of those. After the 2010 earthquake, I think there was 250,000 Haitians who lost their lives. So being on the ground there and just coordinating to get Haitians from the ground out to the USS Comfort, it was impactful, but it was sad. Right. So and then you're in municipal government, and things aren't always rosy, right? You have some
egos,
highlights, and you have some challenges that you overcome. And at some point, I just said, you know what? I want to sit in a meeting and not worry about anxiety, not worry about like who's not as loyal as you would be to them. And I looked into it, and I decided to get Raider, and he's been great. And you guys know, oftentimes he'll sit at my feet, but you'll sit in a meeting and someone will like raise their voice or feel uncomfortable, and he'll just like get up and shuffle around, and you're like, it's good.
Right.
And it's been easy for me to walk into meetings and people will be like, hey, that's the guy with the service dog? Yeah. And he's the one talking about mental health and making sure that our members don't worry about a stigma. Because I don't worry about a stigma ever. I don't ask for permission. I roll in, and sometimes you'll go in a restaurant and they're like, oh, sir, we're going to have special seating for you outside. I said, no, you're not. I'm going to sit where everybody else sits. Right. So that's a little bit about me.
No, I love it, man. It's an unbelievable story. Can only imagine how difficult all those situations were, but to see you at the forefront and embrace the mental health initiatives like you do, like I said, it's unbelievable. And to see how committed you are to our members and your employees, it is something that many agencies across this country do not have. And you are a bright light in the dark world of local government.
Well, I think I appreciate that, Dixon. I was hired at a time where this branch was just starting, right? And Mike Carbala, whose father was a firefighter, he said to me, look, you have one primary mission, and that's I don't want to see the yellow shirts in meetings complaining meeting after meeting after meeting. And my first meeting, I was there, and there was a former Florida Stater, I don't know who it might have been, in a yellow shirt who was complaining about something, but whatever, it mattered to you guys. It wasn't just about anything.
Passion for aggression.
Right. So I made a commitment that I was, I try to be a collaborative leader. I wanted to learn some of the things. And I would say over the first year, some things that really stuck out, like people things that matter to your members. We had 3 family members that were forced to work different shifts, right? Stupid. Like, we want people to spend time with their family, right? We had, you had a brother who lost their life to cancer, and the county was fighting a little bit on the payback to that family member.
That may have been what that speech was that day, too, when I was standing.
Well, I didn't know that, right? But I'm bringing that up. But,
right.
So things as an assistant county administrator that I could help change were, let's look at common sense. Why are we gonna fight that? Why are we gonna? And there was there's been some promotions or not promotions over some time that the union came forward and said, hey, we thought that, and sitting down with the chief and working in, and then it's the investment in people and sending, we were able to send the chief last year to Harvard. We were able to invest in training for other people, work on the officer development program. Like if you empower your people, then as the assistant county administrator, I can just stand back and say, they're going to make me look good, and this department's made me look great. So we're going to continue to work that way, and we're going to continue to work collaboratively, and then we'll get into what that's led to.
And just for the record, big Eagles fan. Big Eagles fan. Big Eagles fan.
Don't say that. They are the Super Bowl champion Eagles. Not just the Eagles. Super Bowl champion Eagles.
Chief, what about you?
Oh, I couldn't throw a football from here to the walls. I'm a longtime Pasco County resident, 5th generation actually. So when I was in high school, my dad worked for Zephyr Hills Fire Department. I graduated high school, started full time in Dade City Fire Department. Right? I was going to go make my own trek. I blazed my own trail, and started in '99 with City of Dade City. And it wasn't shortly after that the county absorbed us. And, just on a side note, that was in 2003. In 2003, Pasco County had 2 fire stations on the east side of 75. Wow. Look what we've grown to in just the 22 years, right? Since then. I mean, when you think about our progress, man, we've been on a marathon sprint. It's been so fantastic. But I can remember sitting back at the dinner table literally 20 years ago, and you can ask a dozen guys, and I tell them all, I said, man, when I'm running this fire department, things are going to be a little bit different.
Spoken into existence.
And there's one shift commander that I promise you, he said, so when you're fire chief, I'm going to be your driver. So you watch. When he's driving me around for the last month that he's working before he retires, you'll know he's on his way out the door. But I've just always had the mentality of, a servant leader, right? I always prided myself on my customer service when I was dealing with the public, and I kind of brought that up with me into the office. Is that you guys, the men and women in Pasco County Fire Rescue, are my customers. I have to take care of you. If I can take care of you and give you what you need and give you the support that you need, you're going to in turn take care of your customers, which are the citizens. And I think that model works well. I mean, obviously I'm still new into this role, right? But I've always carried that mentality with me everywhere I went. And that reputation, I think, has followed me, that people understand how much you do care about the men and women. And honestly, that's the only reason I think somebody would have the mentality to sign up for this job, right? I mean, you've got to have a purpose, because you're not doing it for the fun of it.
Right.
The men and women are the purpose. So I'm excited about it, and like I said, we're on a marathon sprint, and, the men and women are so fantastic. Every time I'm out, we get ideas from the ground up, and I'm so excited because they talk to me, and I'm like, that's a great idea. Put that on an email so I can put my name on it and sell it as my own, right? Because we just got that kind of people around here.
Right.
They're just so smart. They're so passionate. They're so caring. They're sitting around every day on their day off trying to figure out how to make this organization better. And it's my job to harness that energy and that imagination and figure out where we're going in the future.
I think that's one of the biggest challenges too, is I think what slows us down is growth. True. If that makes sense, because your rapid growth, and then how do you adjust to that growth? Because you build a house, you move into that house needs to be protected from day one. But the money from that house doesn't show up for a year or 2 years down the road. So how do you, the fact that you have to challenge, how do I fight growth and plan for growth with not having the money, the budget to do it is crazy, especially like you said, you drove east of 75. It was cow fields and 2 stations. And now here we are in 2025, and you can't drive from the interstate all the way to Dade City on the new 52 corridor, and it's not housing developments and lagoons and Publixes and commercial and mixed property use. It's a challenge. And here we are, everybody in the field is begging, we want this, we want this, we want this.
Yeah, you're right. When Mr. Murphy mentioned Harvard last year when I was up there. We did case study after case study, and consistently Polk County and Pasco County were the top 5 growing, or 2 in the top 5 fastest growing counties in the nation. So how do you keep up with that? So from 2020 to 2025, we had almost a 30,000 call increase. We're talking about a 25-30% increase in our call volume. We've added 2 new service areas since then. So you got a 30% increase in call volume. You got a 6% increase in station coverage. You're lagging behind a lot. And, the GO bond was, and, thank the Lord for the citizens, because they are some of the greatest citizens around, right? They supported that, and they overwhelmingly voted that in. And that was part of the GO bond, is to help us catch up, right? Let's get the money up front. Let's build the fire stations. Let's get moving. And lo and behold, COVID and, extraordinary increases in construction costs just kind of, put a lot of holes in that plan. But we've since then patched it together, and we're still moving forward with it. We've opened 3 fire stations in the last 3 months. We've got 3 currently being built. So that's good progress.
Absolutely.
But, we're still moving forward, right? We've still identified 6 or 7 fire stations that we need tomorrow. And, that's my job. We're going to figure out how to fund those. We're going to figure out how to keep moving forward, and we're going to keep working on it.
Keep going to D.C., keep going
Absolutely.
to Tallahassee.
Absolutely.
We have some potential good news coming out of both the state and the federal level, and some support for fire stations. But I do want to take a step back and talk about the collaborative relationship, because at the same time that I started, right, you're talking about this growth. Look at our region. We were a net trainer for the other stations. We were losing about 75 firefighters a year, right? So you're talking about call volume. We were getting that, but then we were seeing a mass exodus. And what happened? We sat down with the union and said, look, we can't continue in Tampa and Hillsborough and Clearwater. They were paying more per hour. They had a 6-week Kelly day. We were 12-week. So we were, we worked more hours for less money. And we were saying, what is it going to be to keep it outside of the culture? Because you guys have a very positive culture in this department. So it's just not money or just not the hours worked. But we talked about what can be the difference, right?
Right.
And
I would agree. When you're looking at, like you said, we had over 150 firefighters leave in 2 years. We had an unbelievable amount of overtime, most of that being mandatory overtime. When you add that on top of the 30% increase in call volume, and at the time that we didn't have the mental health initiatives that we had, there were a lot of people struggling, a lot of people that were leaving the fire service altogether because everything that they had dreamed of had just did not live up to expectations. And this is the conversation that everybody wants to hear is how did Pasco County get to D shift? Because for the longest time, we were a training ground. I'll tell you right now, I left this agency in 2018 to go work for the city of Tampa. I was there for 6 months and realized I made a big mistake and came on back. But we lost so many good firefighters from this county to other agencies. And when you look at it now, the numbers are unbelievable. When we look at, we lost 162 firefighters in fiscal year 22 and 2023. It cost the county $4.7 million. In fiscal year 22, we had $6 million worth of overtime. It was 78,000 hours of overtime. In fiscal year 23, we had $5.5 million worth of overtime. And then you see a drastic drop in fiscal year 24. And it drops down to 3.1 million, savings of 2.4 from the year before. And when we look at that, the reason for that drop was the D shift. And I'll sit here and say that I'm not ashamed to say it, that it was unbelievable to see that the county came to the table with the proposal. We were all very hesitant because we've been in Pasco County for a while, and there were doubts about the funding and how we would get there, especially with how short that we were. And the thing that everybody wants to hear is how an agency that lost 162 firefighters in 2 years, how did we come to an agreement with the D shift? And now here we are, we're going to be implementing the D shift 3-4 months earlier than what we agreed on in the CBA. So if you can kind of dive into that a little bit. And
it's your point. You brought the county brought it to the table.
Right.
We brought a totally different plan, and then
Right.
we were like, "What?
Right.
Let's ride with this. Let's see what's going on." It's like there's no
Right,
way.
right.
Like, are we in a?
I'm not sure it was let's ride with this. I remember saying, "There's no way. We don't trust
It
you
was-
guys are going to do this."
Yeah,
There might have been a little lean
I
back
think
in the chair, like, okay, yeah, we'll see what
is
happens.
this a delay tactic? Like, is this is this their way to delay bargaining for a couple months?
I would tell you this, and the chief was in all those meetings. We had to stop the mass exodus. There was no way we could continue to compete to keep our men and women staying in Pasco County, just trying to chase the Hillsborough dollar, the Tampa, whatever they were going to pay. And the D shift was a difference maker. And we sat down and we had conversations and we looked at the dollars, but then it's not just the dollars of what it would cost. It's what can we save training wise? You mentioned it was like $4.7 million that we lost just trying to retrain people that we just had trained. And we wanted a better work-life balance for our members. So you can't talk about mental health if you're just burning people out. And we sat down in the county and the county administrator and the county commissioner supported moving forward with this proposal, knowing that there would be an investment, not a cost, an investment in our department to change it here forward, to reduce our annual hours by 660 hours, I think it was. And now we saw like there's a wait list on our recruiting. So if anybody's out there thinking, they have trouble recruiting firefighters to come, you look at, we're going to hire over 100 new firefighters this year and train them in our classes that we're doing. And it's been great to go to the training center and address all the classes with the chief. And, I would say a lot of times on the administrative side, we don't look at all the costs. We don't do the proper cost-benefit analysis. And when you look at this comprehensively, I think the cost-benefit analysis, I think, is equal. And I think if you go into a negotiation trying to get a win-win agreement, too many times and you hear this, in negotiating school or whatever, like too many times it's like you got to take something from somebody. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes, if you're transparent, you can come to a win-win solution. And I think that's what we have here.
Absolutely. And we talk about that recruitment, and Chief Guynn, we can get into that. We talk about people are going to hear we're hiring 100 firefighters this year, and they're going to wonder what quality, right? And before we weren't able to be selective. Let's kind of talk about that process right now and the experience that we're bringing in the door.
Yeah. So, you brought it up earlier. We lost almost 80 people in 2022, right? 80 resignations going somewhere else. This year we've lost 7. And that's fantastic,
right.
But we've weeded out many more than that. We've had some resignations that we've, asked for because you weren't the quality that we wanted and that we weren't looking for. So we are selective. We can be selective. We have that luxury. It's it's a unique opportunity, right? Nobody's inventing the wheel here. None of our programs are out of a golden playbook that we all have in our back pocket that nobody's seen before. But the county motto, people, purpose, performance, people first, right? All we've done is we've stood behind that, and we've made that reality. You look at everything we're doing from the peer support to occupational health to rehab, decon, peer fitness trainers, Tampa-based psychology, and then on D shift on top of that. And all of that is for the betterment of the men and women within the organization. That's all people first. That's what that is. And that's a total package. There's not one, you can't tell everybody, you got to go change your work hours. You're going to fix everything. You can't do this. You can't do that. It's an actual culture. It's an actual mentality. The whole organization from the bottom up has to have. And I think we've succeeded in that. I
think that's kind of thing we've been learning about too when we attend our classes when we're out, is that they're talking about there's 3,500 job openings in the state of Florida. And if you put a student in every seat in every class in the state, it's 2,700 seats. So you're already 800 people behind every year in the state of Florida for firemen because, it's lack of interest or they don't have the facility to teach it. So therefore, you're having to find unique ways to be that recruiter. How do we get people in the front door? And I think people are seeing that commitment. You might give up a little bit money in the front. You're within 10% of Hillsborough, but you're getting a decon program, a mental health program, retiree health insurance, working to better the benefits, the health benefits that we currently have. It's a total package that we also have to try to sell to these other people to recruit them.
Right. And when you look at the work-life balance like we've talked about already, I mean, especially the younger generation, that's what's most important to them. And to have somebody be able to come into the fire service and to be able to work a normal work week like everybody else in the United States works. We're going to be working 42-hour work week compared to a 52 that we were working 3 years, the past 3 years, and a 56 before then. And I think it's missed on a lot of people is it's difficult to leave your family, 24 hours, a lot of times 48 hours at a time, especially if you're at an agency or even like where we were just a couple of years ago, we had such a large amount of mandatory overtime. You're missing your kids grow up. We look at the divorce rates throughout the fire service and how extremely high they are. And a lot of that is just due to the fact that you're not present. And to be able to put this initiative together with everything else that we have, we're taking care of the whole firefighter and we're taking care of that firefighter family, which is the most important thing to make sure that our firefighters in Pasco County are coming to work in the right mindset to be able to perform every single day that they're on the playing field in the streets.
And I think that goes hand in hand with what both of you have talked about. It's people. If our guys, their mind is right, then when they get on scene to take care of the citizens of Pasco County, they can give the best care possible because they don't have that distraction.
Right.
And, that's part of how you make your product better is how do I make it so when we provide a service, that service is they're getting 110%.
Right.
I think a lot of this goes to President Reagan once said, trust but verify. So when we brought the D shift to you guys, we had built up a little bit of trust, I think. But you guys wanted it verified, and we needed to show you the numbers. You asked for the numbers, and we did things like that. And I think we did small things like the Pure Fitness. We talk about Pure Fitness. If you remember when this was about to start, you guys had a weekend class that was due to start on a Friday.
There was no money.
It was about to be canceled because of scheduling issues, things like that. And your former union president called me and said, hey, this is about to go south. They're about to cancel Pure Fitness training for 25 people. I said, no, they're not. We're going to have that Pure Fitness training this weekend.
Right.
And we did it. And then we got the equipment. We put the budget in for it. Training center is doing a great job. But you have a leader across the table from me who is not just a talker. He went out and he did the test, right? And I think when you have that type of selfless leader, it shows everybody else. And I'm proud to hear that like over 600 of your members went and took the test. So that's a testament of if you build up trust with people on many different smaller occasions, they're not small to the people that they affect.
Right.
Do you think that the Frenches won't forget that they can work the same shift now, right? Do you think that they won't remember seeing the chief taking the PFT? Like when you do these things and then you bring a D shift and you say, look, we're going to hire, we're going to do this. The elected officials see there hasn't been a yellow shirt in that commission chambers complaining in over 2 years.
Right.
And it's a win for the collaborative relationship. The elected officials are happy. My boss is happy. That means I'm happy, right? And but I think at the fire stations, if you go there and you sit down and talk with them, they're happy. You know, it took a year for the fire hockey team to let me play on the team, but I think they were happy once I got out on the ice with them, right, Chief?
Yeah, it's going to take you a year to get back, unfortunately.
Right. And, well, yeah.
That's another podcast.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, the collaborative effort to kind of talk about that is so important. I think a lot of people that sit on our side of the table, you know, around the country, they look at, you're supposed to come in here and it's fire and brimstone, right? Like, I'm not letting them gain an inch. A win is not a win and a loss is not always a loss. And to be able to come to common sense solutions, meet in the middle, it's the most important thing that we can do. You know, we're not going to win every grievance or get everything that we want in negotiations, and your side isn't either. But to be able to just have the conversation respectfully and to know that none of this is personal, it's just business. If we have to do business, we have to do business. But I can't speak any more highly of the two of you than I have before, and what I speak out in public. It is truly unbelievable to see two leaders in county government, in the fire service, that are truly invested in the well-being of their firefighters. It's a breath of fresh air, and I thank you both for everything that you've done.
You could build on that too. For years, you had an administration and you had your people in the field, and you did intertwine. And Chief, to your credit, you've been big about saying, hey, if you've got a history, a background, or whatever in this, whatever we're working on, I don't care what rank you are, I don't care who you are, I want you part of the team to make it better. And you see that throughout the department, where you have the different teams within the team, I'd call it, where, you know, these guys are taking care of Occ Health, these guys are taking care of the PFT, these guys are taking care of CISM. We have people taking care of truck spec committees, where we have a very unique group of people that we allow them to do things. The Marine unit, special operations, truck companies. You have personnel chief positions. You have
Health and safety chief.
Health and safety chief. That's huge. That's, you know, there's probably, what I think I looked at, there's like 12 departments in the United States that have that position.
There's departments that are coming from across the country to evaluate what we're doing here. We just sent a team to Puerto Rico to share our MIH team and their successes. So we're not being modeled just in the region. We're being modeled, you know, across the world. And I think it's a testament to you guys.
You as well.
Yeah, it's collaborative. What is, you know, again, what are the challenges that you faced on the administrative level with the D shift? Like, we know what we've dealt with with our group and how we've done things, but what are some of the conversations that you can share about what you've done for the people that are listening, that are like, hey, they can talk to us all day long and we go to conferences and we talk about it, but they don't have the administrative side of the story. So what are some of the administrative sides of the story that have made it, that you felt like that you had to deal with on your level to get where we are?
Well, surprisingly enough, it wasn't money, right? I mean, you brought it up before, you know, almost 90,000 hours of overtime a year, $5 to $6 million deficit on employees every year. You know, we conservatively monetize that loss of, you know, 80 employees every year to around $5 or $6 million. And we could, you know, play chief math, because we know how that goes, and you can balloon that to whatever you want it to be, right? But a conservative number. So, you know, we had to take a big swing. You know, when you're losing, you know, close to $10 million a year, you've got to fix that. And that takes a big swing out of bat. And, you know, surprisingly too, we're just now starting to hire the D shift personnel. We only needed 79 people, right? That's not that many. So, but we were so far behind that we were just getting caught up to minimum staffing.
Right.
So that's where we're at now. And, you know, when you move into a D shift, every little problem you have is going to be, you know, multiplied by another %. So we have to get our processes fixed, and that's been my big mantra up in the office right now, is process improvement. So what we're doing is working. There's some processes in each of those areas that need to be fixed and moved and manipulated to make them a little more effective and a little more efficient. And we're doing things like that. You know, like we're going to change the way we do our EMS supply room ordering and restocking, right? Just little things like that to help the processes work a little bit more effectively. But, you know, initially it was, you know, getting some buy-in from some county admin, but it wasn't much of a hard sell once they understood the numbers, when they understood the process, and they understood that it was people-centric. You know, they're like, okay, this makes a lot of sense. So it's actually been a fun process. It's been challenging, but, you know, working through the numbers, I don't know how many times I've calculated how many employees we have to hire to make sure we have enough people. And January 24th, when we flip the switch, that's what keeps me up at night. It's like,
Right.
we're just going to go to D shift and not have enough people to staff a shift, right? That's been a nightmare. But we've gone through that so many times. We've looked at it. We have enough people to back ourselves up. We have enough people to staff the shift. And we have call outs, sick leaves, vacations, things like that. We're going to be fine. And we're going to be well off.
I know we're excited. I can tell you, I'm looking forward to it. To be able to have that recovery day when you get off work, and then you have two full days where you can actually be a human. It's exciting. It's so exciting to see where we're going, and I appreciate everything once again that you guys have done. I think the biggest thing too, and we talk about the trust but verify. We had never seen on this side of the table a plan in writing the way that this D shift plan came. I mean, the implementation plan, I know Chief David Mingle, he spearheaded it. And I know I've told him, it is the best damn thing I have ever seen slide across the table. It was so thorough. You could tell that there were multiple people involved as like a check and balance to make sure that everything was correct. And it was just unbelievable to see, an administration that is sprinting towards this goal, but also being methodical in what they do and to make sure that everything is right and appropriate. And then to give it to us and for us to have no feedback. I mean, that doesn't happen. So it's just an unbelievable process. And to see how far we've come just in these past 2 years since we've agreed on it, Chief, since you've been the chief of our organization, it's been unbelievable. Mr. Murphy, since you've been a part of this organization, we are so far ahead of where we were in such a short period of time. It's truly unbelievable to see how far we've come in 3-4 years.
Well, I appreciate that. And I'll tell your audience out there, we're not perfect. We have warts.
Right.
And we make mistakes. But I think because we've built up this relationship, every once in a while, we'll have that, bring everybody to the table, and we have that collaborative relationship where we can say, I didn't know this was happening. Give me a chance to fix it. And if you don't come to the table and collaborate like that, then small things build up, and then you do something unintentionally oftentimes. And
Right.
A small problem becomes a larger problem, because small problems for your firefighters are big problems for them.
Right.
Right. And I think we just had a meeting 2 months ago where we weren't aware of some of the things that were going on, and boom, like we're addressing them, and we'll continue to do that. So I don't want, anybody from Iowa or wherever. I've been a couple of places, not in Iowa, but if they see this, we're not perfect, but I think that's part of why we're successful,
Right.
Because we own our mistakes, we talk about it, and we find a middle ground, and sometimes we push, and that's good. We're protecting our residents, we're protecting our employees, and Chief said it best. If you start with people, then your performance, they know the purpose, and our employees know our purpose, right? They know what this D shift means to them, right? Just step back and watch their performance.
I think that's important. You speaking to the collaboration, right? I mean, your previous president, John Michael Moore, and your guys' intention has always been what is best to serve our citizens in Pasco County. That's always been your driving goal, right? So everything you do is calculated towards that, and same as us. And we don't always agree, and sometimes we butt heads, and certainly in some of those processes, right? But we know that the overarching goal is how do we serve our citizens better, and the collaboration between the two, between union and admin is fantastic, and that's a testament. And I hope if anybody listening to this podcast takes anything away from that's what they learn from it, is that you can climb mountains when you're all working together.
Absolutely.
When you're not, you're all just fighting against each other. Right. So, and then back to the D shift rollout. I think Steve Jobs said, he said, I don't hire smart people to tell them what to do. I hire smart people to say, tell me what to do, right? And that's just a testament to the team we have up there right now, is that I feel that team that we have in the office right now is working more effective than we ever had before. And I'm excited to see where that takes us in about 3 or 4 years as well.
Believe me, I think that we would agree the same. And you talked about John Michael. It's a cliche saying. I always tell people I stand on the shoulders of giants, and I really do. From Ralph Grant to Tim Zukowski, John Michael. And the biggest thing that he set me up for success was the relationship that he had built with administration. And it's just unbelievable to see the leadership we've had come on the county side and also the union side, and to see where we are today. And it's exciting to see what the future is. I know we've had some conversations too about what's next, and I'm excited to see what's next.
Is there anything you guys want to talk about?
Yeah, I'm waiting to get some feedback from this podcast from your men and women, so I can.
I'm sure we'll get plenty of that.
I'm sure we will.
They're going to give us our next idea, and that's what I'm waiting for.
Yep, absolutely.
Station dogs.
Station dogs.
Don't go down that road.
Yeah, 9 already had one.
Yeah, we already had one. It got turned away. So,
Yeah.
well,
I appreciate you guys having me on. It's been a great experience.
No, we appreciate you.
we appreciate you doing it. And that, we wanted you guys to be the first, because start big. Let's bring the chief, the assistant county administrator, the two people that oversee everything, so they could see that the department and the county's bought into, hey, you got the freedom of speech, but you have the freedom to continue to do what you're doing.
And keep bringing ideas from the ground up.
And
We will continue to listen.
To that, if you have ideas for the podcast so they could hear, the firepodcast@gmail.com. Anything that you guys want, give us some suggestions on what you want us to talk about. Again, that's the firepodcast@gmail.com. Well, I know we appreciate you guys. We've covered a lot: health, wellness, the future of our department, and one of the biggest shifts is scheduling in our history. Chief Guynn, JJ Murphy, thank you both for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for having me.
If you have an idea for the show, the firepodcast@gmail.com. And just a small token, it's the end into Memorial Day weekend. We want to thank all of our veterans for everything that you've done. We want to especially thank, the Pasco County employees that have served us, and a big shout out to the members of our department. Thank you for what you do. You'll never be forgotten. We appreciate it all. We'll see you next time for the Firewire Podcast. We've covered a lot: health, wellness, the future of our department, and one of the biggest shifts in scheduling in our history. We want to thank Chief Guynn, JJ Murphy. Thank you both for joining us today. Now it's time to turn our attention to the Union Corner, which is a segment where we're going to talk about what's going on within our union.
We've had a lot going on in the 5 months this year. I took over this role January 1st, and kind of just give an update of all the things that have taken place since January. Members of this local and of our political action committee, we had multiple trips up to Tallahassee this year, with one trip also to Washington, D.C. And when we were in Tallahassee, we were lobbying for FRS reformation, trying to reinstate the COLA. There are also multiple bills, most notably the firefighter health and safety bill, that does have language in there that recommends a 42-hour work week for all fire departments throughout the state of Florida. That did pass unanimously. We also have an appropriation up in Tallahassee for Station 4 to help offset some of that cost for the county. So we have some good feedback so far. We still have some time left. The budget ends at the end of the month, end of June. And, we'll see where that goes. Our trip to Washington, D.C., was myself and our PAC chair, Walter Price. That was an unbelievable trip. We were up there for the IAFF Legislative Convention and met with all of our congressional leaders, as well as multiple congressional leaders throughout the state of Florida. And right now, we do have bills that we have Congresswoman Laurel Lee and Congressman Gus Bilirakis have co-sponsored that are firefighter bills at the federal level. And Congresswoman Laurel Lee is also carrying an appropriation for us for Station 31, which will be located outside of Union Park. We are currently negotiating a support pay plan. As most of you know, and for those that don't, we do have a wage opener in the year 3 for the support pay plan. So we'll see where that goes. We had our first meeting 2 weeks ago. It was great. So we have a next one coming up next month, and we'll get an update out to the field once we have that done.
Talking about that wage opener, part of that, you had the wage opener, and then there was an opening for the health insurance.
Correct.
Was there any discussion about the health insurance?
Health insurance is, the rates aren't going to increase, so we're going to attempt to address it in the year 3 or in our 3-year contract, and we'll see where that all plays out.
We know that's an important subject matter, especially to our members. They're young, they're having families. Just know that this union is working towards negotiating with the county to find ways to help offset those higher costs.
Absolutely.
So that's one thing that I know that we're working on.
Absolutely. And as we get more updates as we go through this process, I don't expect the support pay plan negotiation to go much longer, maybe three sessions. It's been very positive so far, the feedback that we've gotten from the county. I'll tell you right now, as I'm sitting here, I was hired in 2015 in September. So when I look at our executive board and I see all the seniority that's sitting there, as someone who has another 20, 23 years left in this organization, it's concerning for me that when I look around that room and look at that table and I see 20 plus, 20 plus, 20 plus, it concerns me. And another thing that we do have coming up in July is that we have a PEP conference that's going to be in Charleston, South Carolina. And we have 3 of our newly appointed stewards that are all under 10 years on the job that are going to be making that trip to Charleston, South Carolina, taking time away from their families. And they're going to go and they're going to take classes and learn so they can make this local better and they can be a part of that succession plan that eventually we're going to need.
We have to prepare for the future. That's
Absolutely.
what we talked about for years within our organization, is that we didn't prepare.
Absolutely.
And so we took a note out of our own playbook and said, well, we need to prepare the youth of today for tomorrow.
Absolutely.
You hear that cliche slogan all the time, but it's the truth. We need to build on a fundamental base, and our base is the people that are getting hired today are the future of tomorrow.
Absolutely.
And we talk about that, and we have a very diverse, mixed group of individuals within our e-board, within our union, which is amazing because we allow, from the guy that goes to orientation to the guy that's number 1 on the seniority list, your voice matters and you have a spot in this union. And that's the most important thing that we want to get out to our members, is that everybody has a voice and is part of it. The union is not just a group of individuals that sit at the head of the table. The union is the body of people. And I think that that's one thing about our union, is that our body of people work together very well and we represent everyone.
Absolutely. And I think it just goes to show too, is like, I know you and I have talked about when we look at the locals budget going into next year and creating a line item that allows members that are not on the executive board to go and get education at these conferences. They happen all the time. There was one last month in Gulf Shores, Alabama, the District 14 conference. And, there's always these pop-up classes that come on that are so valuable to what we do. And we want to make that commitment to the membership that shows if you are committed to this organization, we are going to be committed to you. This isn't a vacation. You know it. You've been there. This is not a vacation. I come home more tired than I do when I go there. And it is education, and you need education in order to be in these positions.
And the other great thing too is for you at home, if you're a union member, the IAFF has a website, IAFF.org.com. I'm not the internet genius, but you go to the IAFF's website, and the IAFF allows you, if you have a union number and you're a dues paying member, you can sign up and take classes. There's a lot of webinars and there's a lot of web classes, and you can kind of search through that. You don't know where your spot is yet, but you want to get on there and you want to look and you want to see. Go to their site and look and see what they have to offer, and then you can, self-teach your class. I tell my new hires all the time, or the guys newer to the department, you have to invest a minimum of 30 minutes a day just in self-study.
Right.
You can learn stuff on that site that benefits you within the department. There's EV situation, EV fires, there's hazmat, there's special operations, there's all kind of things. You can go to the IAFF site that you're already a dues paying member that you can get for free that could better you, and you could find an area, hey, you know what, that really intrigues me. I want to be part of that team. And then you come to the union meetings. This union is the body of people, and everybody needs to know that you have a place at the table.
100%. And we tell the new hires that every time we go and speak to them, that a 20-year employee, a 20-year member has the same vote as a day one member. And we want those people that are committed to this organization because, as we talked about in this episode, to get to where we are today was a true collaborative effort. And if we don't have people behind you to fill your seat, we're going to be in a world of hurt one day when we come to wake up and I'm in my 20th year in my career, and who's going to be leading the charge then? So it's important for all of our members to understand that there are so many opportunities for you to get involved. We have multiple committees. All you have to do is just reach out to your station representative, tell them that you're interested in being involved, and we'll find a spot for you. That's all we want. We want commitment. I mean, our political action committee is always looking for members. They are extremely active. They are one of our most active committees that we have, especially when it comes to an election cycle. And they're so influential. And it's a huge part of our success. All of the committees are a huge part of our success. From the uniform committee to the vehicle spec committee, EMS, whatever committee we have, it is influential in our day-to-day operations as a department. And I don't want anyone to be discouraged, thinking that they can't be involved or that somebody is gatekeeping. Show that you're interested. Show up to meetings. Be committed to bettering this organization and also bettering this department. And I'm speaking to firefighter EMTs who are day one, all the way up to 30-year members. Every one of you have the ability to change this department and change this local for the future and for the better. And I know everyone has family and you have other commitments. If you have the time and you have the energy to get involved, please do and reach out.
The more people that are involved, the easier it is for everyone.
Absolutely.
You don't have to bear the weight of all of a task if you can put that stuff out there. It's just like the fire service. When I started here in Pasco in 2003, we sent 2 engines, 2 rescues, a battalion chief, and an air truck to a house fire. It was a badge that you didn't go second alarm. You better handle it 3 bottles, 4 bottles, whatever. And we were, building. We were going crazy, 3, 4 bottles, but not thinking about what's the next call. That adrenaline rush. Yeah, I got it. I go to rehab. I go back to the station. I take a shower, and now I'm dead for the rest of the shift. Now we're showing up 3 engines, 2 rescues, a ladder, a heavy, a battalion chief, a second battalion chief, depending on if it's a working fire. And what does that do? We're getting more done.
Right.
So the union's the same way. The more people that help out, the more we can get done.
Absolutely.
So I think that's why the fire service is so unique, is that we can take that to what our union does, and we can kind of mirror some of the things that work and what works and what doesn't work. And like you said, when we go to the IAFF convention, we are no longer just Pasco County.
Correct.
We are Pasco County.
Yes.
And what I mean by that is, you've seen it. We walk into the room and they're like, oh, the big boys are here. It's a badge of honor now. I mean, regardless, before we were the laughing stock, that's the training grounds of Pinellas and Hillsborough and Tampa. But now they're like, we got guys leaving those areas to come work for us. But when we walk into these rooms and we got 18 people sitting at 3 tables in the middle of the room, and people are hounding us about, they stand up at the president of the FPF. It's like, well, Pasco County's got their stuff together. They got retiree health insurance, and we're, doing a huge presentation from them about health insurance. And they're like, well, this won't apply to Pasco because they already got retiree health insurance. Or they're, calling out labor leader of the year 2 years ago when John Michael won labor leader last year when he was doing everything behind the scenes to make this union great. Like, Absolutely. There's the little things that are happening that we don't do enough of letting you guys know about your union. And that's what this is about. We're going to go live every day, or we'll have some kind of downloadable item every day to give you a 10 to 15 little snippet about what's going on. We hopefully got some guests lined up. We're going to meet with them. We're going to let you know, because your union dues are paying for your union members to go, to learn, to come back, to bring that stuff to you. And we're going to make you aware. We did it 2 years ago in Jacksonville. Mm-hmm. Dixon was like the PIO for that weekend and that week. And I think it worked really well, because that was the most engaged the members thought we were.
Right.
And we're going to get back to that. That was a positive thing that everybody enjoyed. And we're going to get back to showing that there's engagement. There's accountability and engagement.
Right.
And that's what the most important thing is.
Right. And, before we touch on that one and go back to what we were talking about the convention, and we walk in the room, right? I mean, I would be remiss if I didn't say that the departments that surround us have been so instrumental in our success. Hillsborough County's president, Tim Pearson, Tampa's president, Nick Stocco. We talked about Rick Pauly, St. Pete president, also the district vice president. It's
David Sowers
from Clearwater. You know, it's a collective effort from everyone that surrounded us. You know, the investment that those individuals put into this department and this local. I mean, I could pick up the phone right now and call any of them and they'll answer. And they've answered so many questions that I've had in these past 5 months. John Michael's been instrumental in these past 5 months for me as well. And just to kind of look at the support that we have from the surrounding areas, the relationships that we've built with our surrounding departments, it's unbelievable to see. Now to go into what you're talking about with the engagement and the communication, you know, that was the biggest reason of why we had talked about doing this podcast, was because the one thing that we always hear from the membership is a lack of communication. And while we can't get into details on this platform, we can give you an idea of what is going on. You know, the real details take place at the member meetings, the annual business meeting, right? But we want our membership to know that we want to communicate with them. We want them to be engaged. And this was an idea that we had come up with. Steven Stanforth, our producer of the Firewire podcast, I mean, he's been unbelievable. This entire room setup was him. Everything done, our social media, the outreach that we have with our social media now, Steve Stanforth has taken it to the next level. And then let's talk about, we were talking about a younger guy. Chris Pita was another one. You know, he's in here with the studio with us today, and the time and effort that he's put in to make this successful, to make our social media successful, it has to be spoken about. But another thing when we talk about accountability is, I'm sure everyone is out there looking at Telestaff and they see union business off duty and they're wondering, what is this pay code? The union business off duty is a way for us to make sure that our station representatives are going out and doing their station visits and engaging with the members that are in their districts. It allows us to keep them accountable and log the hours that they are putting in, the stations that they are going to visit. And it also shows all of our members that when we're off duty, we are still working. You know, every time there's an executive board meeting, a negotiation, labor management, policy review, you know, anything that our committees are going to meet with administration for, there's a directive now where they are to put in union business off duty so that our membership can go on Telestaff and you can see, oh, these guys are doing something today.
And it's not pay. That union business off duty is just a tracking code.
Correct.
That we've established that allows us to track, you know, to verify that our station reps are getting out there. It's accountability. It's to know that your treasurer, your president, your vice VPs, everybody is out there doing what they're supposed to do, and we're tracking it.
Right.
And it doesn't affect, it's not union leave. It's not a payable code where you see that, oh, they're getting paid to do that. No, that union business off duty is just to, hey, they're doing union business and they're not getting paid.
Right. You mentioned union leave. We're working on something. You know, we've had a lot of discussions. You know, we understand every year, every member donates 4 hours of their time to union leave. And we have some discussions going on how do we reduce that time. So look for that coming in the near future. You know, and I look forward to our next podcast, giving you all the day-by-day updates while we're at the FPF convention. And, yeah, I mean, I'm excited.
I have to budget and plan for this since, I can't even tell. I think it was my first 2 years in office. I think it was JJ Martinez and me came up with the idea of like, hey, why aren't we doing a podcast? Why aren't we doing something to get back to the members? So we budgeted, you know, after that 2 years when we went to the annual business meeting, we added money into it. So it's not like this is a new cost. We built on this over the last 4 years to put money in to get where we are. Right. One of the downfalls is we didn't have a building.
Right.
One of the positive things that we've done now is that we bought a building that had a room that we could make a podcast room. Right. We don't have to tear everything down. We could do it. Now the excuse can't be, well, we don't have it. Now we do have. So now we need to, this will be a monthly thing, regardless if I'm here, if you're here. The transition is that will stay around and that this will move forward so we can get information out to you guys about any topic. And if there's anything that you guys want to talk about, email us at the firewirepodcast@gmail.com. That, again, the firewirepodcast@gmail.com. Because we want to know, what do you want us to talk about? What items, what's new? Is it pay? Is it scheduling? What areas do you want us to discuss? And if you didn't hear what you wanted to hear today, then tell us. We want to know. This is for you. This is your podcast. As the members, we want to get stuff out to you about how we can do that, and then tell you a little bit every time about different items. I know that Dixon was instrumental about, hey, let's make it a 2-part, which I absolutely enjoy, because what that means is we'll talk to our members, but then we'll also bring in guests.
Right.
And guests let you know that, hey, your department's got more than just showing up to work.
Right.
A fancy red fire truck with a ladder or a heavy rescue with a bunch of tools in it. Your fire department also has stuff behind the scenes that you can take advantage of. Absolutely. And it's not just always decon, mental health. There's other aspects. And I think that's a great idea, because what are you getting for the bane of your dollar? It's also a recruitment tool for us. Hey, people out there, Pasco County is a great place to work. We got a lot of cool things going on. We're doing a lot of cool things. We're not perfect, but we own our mistakes. We'll make it better. And, for our members, please email us, the firewirepodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, and if you have any guests that you know of that you would like to have us bring them on the podcast and talk to them, please send those ideas too. I mean, the biggest thing is not only talking to people that are inside the county or that are inside the IAFF or FPF, it's to bring in outside resources, financial advisors, Dr. Benson from Tampa Bay Psychology, James Gearing from Behind the Shield podcast. I mean, these are all guests that we have lined up coming in the future. We want this to be a resource for our membership. And like Pete said, any questions that you want to send, any topics that you would like us to discuss, the firewirepodcast@gmail.com. There may be some questions that, once again, we can't answer on air. But if you send us the question, it's something that we can't answer on air, and we're going to reach out to you and we're going to give you the answer over the phone. But this is the first step into our membership engagement, and that is the number one item for in-house that I want in my first term, is to increase our engagement, increase our outreach to our membership, increase our outreach to people that are not members here, that are looking to maybe take the jump. Remember, Pasco County transitioning to a D shift January 25th, 2026, retiree health insurance, a robust occupational health department. We talked about the podcast, the FPAP, but we talked about the podcast about the mental health initiatives that we have going on here. I mean, I can tell you right now, Pasco County is a great place to work. We have great leadership inside the county. It was shown today with Fire Chief Ryan Guynn, Assistant County Administrator J.J. Murphy. We haven't had an opportunity to. This is our first episode, so we haven't had an opportunity to bring on our county administrator, Mike Carball, but he's a huge supporter. His father's retired firefighter. His brother works for the city of Tampa. Our county commissioners, our state legislators, they are instrumental into our success. I mean, when we talk about a collaborative effort, we mean more than just the union and the department. We're talking about politically as well. And I don't know. I can't wait to see what we have in store, and I can't wait to hear the feedback that we get from members on this podcast. I know it's our first one, so I'm sure we're going to get critiqued pretty hard. But we want this to be something that our members want to tune into when this episode drops. That they're listening to it, they're tuned in, and that they're asking us questions. That is the number one thing that I want to see come out of this.
Yeah, you can listen to it in your car on the way to work, on the way home, decompress. Yeah. Put it on morning meeting at the station. You can hang out at home and watch it. It'll be on all social media platforms, I believe. We'll have it on YouTube. We'll have it on X. We'll have it on Facebook. We'll have it, you download it on Spotify. I think we'll be able to do it on Apple Podcast, right on the app of a phone. So we'll be able to do all of that. You can play it. Like, we're doing what we can to disseminate as much information to you as we can.
Speaking of that, the one thing I did forget that's coming is a new website.
Oh, yeah. That's
a new internal website. The contract was just sent to us a couple days ago. So I'm excited to get that thing rolled out. and to get that in front of our membership. And you're going to see that this podcast is going to be uploaded inside that internal webpage. I don't know. I think you guys are going to be very excited about what's coming your way.
There's a lot of surprises with that website
Yes,
that we don't
there
want to
is.
unleash yet, but
Yes,
you'll
there
see
is.
that some of the benefits to our members is going to be unique.
Absolutely.
Also, talk about upcoming events. Today was the unveiling of the sponsor for the golf tournament, September 11th golf tournament. I believe it's our third annual golf tournament, September 11th. I believe it's still going to be held at Plantation Palms.
Yes, sir.
So today there was Facebook Warriors went out there and they put out for the sponsors, and that goes now until August 11th. And then on August 11th, sponsorship will open for individual teams. So make sure we kind of changed it up this year. We did, whole sponsors and title sponsors. And then that I think is going to allow for more teams to sign up, because we've done such a great job that I know one of the complaints we got after last year's golf tournament, well, there wasn't enough spaces. Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Because, you can only fit so many teams on a golf course. We've looked at different ways to handle it. We've negotiated some deals with some different golf courses that have 2 courses. The problem was with storm damage and things of that nature, it's kind of couldn't handle it this year. But we're always looking at ways to improve. So August 11th, 2025 is when you'll be able to sign up for your individual teams. Right now, the sponsorships have opened up. And it's going to be interesting to see how it works.
Yeah, and mark that date, because last year we were sold out in just a few hours. We had all the spots taken. We had a waiting list. So, and we talk about other venues, but I'll say Plantation Palms has been fantastic the last 2 years. Even last year, it rained very heavy the 2 days before the tournament, and they were just so accommodating, with us. I know they love having us out there. We love being there. To make sure, August 11th, 2025, if you want to participate in our 9/11 Memorial Golf Tournament, be prepared to sign up the moment that thing opens.
And I think the fishing tournament was a big success.
Absolutely. I had 25 boats in the water.
25 boats in the water. We had a good turnout, very good turnout. We had to change venues again due to the storms.
Yeah.
I think that your team has already started planning how they're going to do it next year, which is a testament to how well they want to make it. There's probably going to be some changes. It'll be, I think one of the things that we talked about doing is, maybe hosting the captain's meeting here the night before. So that way you can have a quieter place so we could hear, so people can get the information and make sure they understand it. And then possibly we'll come back here after, let the people go fish, and then have change the time and maybe come back here in the evening. And then we have some kind of barbecue or something going on, and then do the awards and everything here. We have the bathrooms, the air conditioning, the outside, the inside. People can park their boats, whatever. We're trying to make every time we do it, we work hard to make things better.
Absolutely.
So, if you have any ideas about that too, you can always email us at info@iff4420.com. That's .org. Sorry. info@iff4420.org. That's a great way to get information to us. If there's anybody outside the agency, you're hearing this podcast, you're interested, if it's podcast based, we're going to get the Firewire podcast at gmail.com. If it's not, if it's just union based, info@iff4420.org. Email us. We'd love to communicate.
Absolutely. I want to thank you all for joining us and watching our first episode of the Firewire podcast. We're excited to see where the future takes us, and we're excited to talk to you at the FPF convention next week.
Thank you for all you do. Be safe. Appreciate you. It's your union. It's our union. Together we are union.